When I graduated from Gross, I attended St. Thomas University in Minnesota for a year. I was actually thinking of being a priest. After that year up there, decided it wasn't going to work out, and so I decided to come back. I got a teaching degree, and I got my first teaching job at St. Mary's Bellevue, and then joined Bellevue Public Schools in 1997, and I've been there, I think it's 27 years now that I've been there. And then just recently I took on the position of alumni director for the school district. Part of the reason I decided not to be a priest is I knew I wanted to have a family one day. And when I came back to Omaha from St. Paul, shortly thereafter, I met my future wife, Christine Pasketch, who is a Gross High grad from class of '92. We have 3 boys, Charlie, Joe, and Ryan. So our youngest son, Ryan, is 15, and he has a pretty rare disease. It's called a mitochondrial disease, and basically he's dependent on us for everything except for breathing. Like right now, he's at home. He's in a hospital bed in our living room. Chris stays home full time with him. Doesn't talk, doesn't walk, but he is about the happiest kid you'd ever want to meet. And I talked to the boys about, we call Ryan an angel, and I talk about how rare it is. I go, you know, you could do just about anything, and your brother's going to love you just as much no matter what you do. And that type of unconditional love, that's pretty rare. And your brother, he has that for you guys. He looks at you the same no matter how your day was, no matter what you did, good or bad or otherwise. And yeah. So that's Ryan. 2.5 years ago, I started an online news site and app called the Bellevue Times. There's so much information and misinformation on social media. I decided I wanted to do something to maybe get more stories out about Bellevue that were just factual. They just not right or wrong or anything, just here's the story. I kind of treat it more like a magazine. I think when we first launched, people thought, well, wait, I thought you were going to have news stories every day. I'm like, well, I have a full-time job, so this is when I come home, I hang out with my family for a little bit, and then I go work on this stuff. I enjoy doing it, and I like to think it's helped Bellevue in a little bit, because Bellevue doesn't have a printed local newspaper dedicated to Bellevue anymore. We're kind of it, so. I had a lot of positive experiences here. The class retreats that we did every year had a big impact on me, and it was neat in the sense of being with your friends that you did all your friend stuff with, and you hung out with, and you went to parties with, and all that. But then also going on those retreats or having the weekly mass with them, and sharing that other side. And I've always kind of thought that my faith is somewhere between both of it, between not just like it's going to church and celebrating Christ, but then also hanging out with your friends, and that's sort of living it. After sophomore year, I got involved in yearbook, newspaper, pastoral council. I did enjoy quite a bit of my time on the yearbook and the newspaper, and writing stories for both. On newspaper, I had Mrs. Strasky, who just brought out the best in you, always challenge you to write, like to take what you wrote and then say, well, that's okay, but could we make it better? Sophomore year I took a chemistry class, and Brother Tim was the teacher of the class. At midterm, I had a D, and I'd never had a D before in anything, and I was sort of panicking, and I thought, someone said, well, you can drop a class. I'm like, you can? So I went to the office. I forget who I talked to, but they said, oh, you have to talk to Brother Tim if you're going to drop this class. I'm like, oh, geez, okay. So I met Brother Tim, and when I told him I was dropping the class, there's a little bit of a pause, and he didn't say, no, you're not, but he basically said, well, I'd like you to maybe think of the class differently, that maybe up to now you've never really been challenged in your life, and this class is challenging for you, and I'd like you to accept that challenge and do what you can to get a passing grade. I felt like, in a good way, like that was my only choice then, is to continue to take the class, and I ended up passing it, not with an A or anything like that, but I got a passing grade. And I've always remembered that, of thinking that the easy thing for him as a teacher to do would have been just to let me, all right, fine, drop it. But the more challenging thing was to put that challenge in front of me and say, I think you can do better than this, and you probably know you can do better than this, so stick with it. That came from Brother Tim. What I think I appreciate most about Mr. Hammerski, having so many teachers over the years, is how intelligent he is, but yet how well he's able to communicate these tough concepts to students, because that's a gift. I mean, I've had so many teachers that were really smart, but they really couldn't communicate, and with the knowledge in their head, and he's gifted in both the communication aspect and just the having that knowledge. So, and I've followed his career, especially the last like 10 or 15 years, and how great all his teams have done. And then I always kind of bite my lip and smile because some of my former students are on his teams, and I just think that's fantastic.